Hello, this is James Redfield. Thanks for joining us on this uh, Thursday, the 25th of March, Global Prayer Project. So there's a lot of energy happening in the world. A lot of people report what they're feeling. I think you can be assured that consciousness is rising in leaps and bounds out there, in spite of the tenseness and the political stalemates that are happening out there in the world. And I'll just say one thing about that: it is a consequence of consciousness arising that is making what many of us call the dark side. The people who resort to power and money and corruption to feel okay in the world. And it's those people who are most bothered by a spontaneous consciousness that uplifts the world in a spiritual direction. Not so much because they fear it, but because they think that that they're the only ones who have this dream of the future. And their dream of the future, unfortunately, is based on controlling all that you would think of when you think of the opposite of spiritual connected consciousness. So I'll only say that about them, and reassure everyone that consciousness is prevailing. What we have to just understand is that we'll see a lot of what seems like wild talk, wild fears, actions that seem like they're only to control people and keep them locked down from their creative freedom and their spiritual vision and the ability and freedom to talk spirituality. So with that being said, it's very, very important that we don't get into battling with this this segment of people, because as soon as you hate, as soon as you go into seeking the battle physically, what happens is that as in the Star Trek and the Star Wars mythology, you join the dark side. You actually, with that, make them larger and make them more fearful. So our goal, I believe, as people who are conscious of consciousness and the rise of consciousness, should make sure that we remember that in this dimension, one of the activators is the idea of redemption, meaning no matter how afraid and no matter how wild your deeds, you can wake up. You can wake up and come into a more positive, heart-based consciousness. And I want to just talk about that for a sec, because there is no consciousness outside of spiritual consciousness. And what that means is, of course, is that it has to be heart-based. We have to reorganize modern thought to be grateful for and kind of inwardly moved in a kind of confirmation that love is the connected breakthrough. In other words, the dark side, you might say, is not connected there. Where they're connected is in their fear and their hate and their anger and all the rationalizations that they maintain for controlling everyone. So what we have to realize is that love is our strongest, basic, spiritually connected emotion. It's not anything other than that. It's not a mushy feeling you have for your first girlfriend or boyfriend, or it's in the material world, it's just seen as weak and completely powerless. But in reality, it's the strongest, most courageous, most enlightening, because it is our centered, spiritually connected emotion. It's the emotion that we were born to find. It guards against all the lower emotions that come up and slam us out of our flow in the world. What guards against that is the strong, love-based centeredness, because then the lower emotions hit us, maybe. All of this is what we know about spiritual reality and about spiritual consciousness and what it feels like, and what the journey from a materialistic outlook, secular outlook, pretending that, just the material world is all there is, pretending as long as you can that you're really not going to die. There won't be any kind of transition. We can just pretend we're living and trying to create this materialistic utopia. The problem, of course, is that that's a delusion. Deepak Chopra always called materialism a delusion. It's an agreement that has come when society went so secular, when science turned to be to announce its leadership, and then failed to explore spirituality. And so it left everybody in this materialistic, slightly neurotic lack of power and lack of fulfillment. And so just giving that as a motivation, that worldview that I just expressed as the motivation for the Global Prayer Project, I want to specifically talk about inspiration energy. Because inspiration energy is how you know you're in the flow. I didn't mean to rhyme, but that is exactly what it is. Inspiration energy is that feeling that we're motivated. Something is motivating us to do something in the world that expands consciousness, that makes spiritual reality more a reality. So everybody finds that at different times. My inspiration energy with Celestine Prophecy books was always, erupted or came over me in little daydreams of what I was supposed to do. It amplified around 38, and by the way, millennials, your huge wave of a generation close together in age, the main body of millennials are moving through 38. And whether you like astrology or not, it's what happens at 38 is classic. It happens to every generation. And that is, you start to feel competent at a level. Perhaps you've made relationships work, you've been able to have children and did the hard work in the beginning that's necessary with children. But when you hit 38, Pluto in the sky goes to 90 degrees. And I'm saying hit 38, and it could be 37 in some cases, but that range between 37 and 41. But you began to have this sense of, well, that was good. I'm glad I did that. I feel more mature. But what do I really want to do with my life? What was my real mission? Or maybe even just what would inspire me the most in this world? Is it just money? Or is it just solid knowingness that you're doing what you want and need to do in the world to make the world better, to make the world more conscious? The more you can look in those terms, the more this question will yield results. And as I try to say, the people listening are this week may be different from last week. So I'm going to repeat a few things because I think it's the reality building that has to take place. So we have to understand that there are 3 generations in play right now. And it's interesting, their ages. We have baby boomers who are looking at an older age and find their motivation and their inspiration in leaving a legacy. They're asking questions such as, I've done all of these things in my life, but what could I do to leave a legacy that would, in the short time maybe that I have left, what could I do that would leave the greatest legacy in my life? So those are questions bombarding out there the cosmos, the great divine behind this world, and they're getting answers. And I just said the millennials want to know what is what can I do now at midpoint in my life, 40 rushing toward me. What can I do that I really want to do, that needs to be done? Looking for that inspiration energy. And then you have, of course, the Zs, the children of the millennials, and they're asking, well, how do I do life in general? I'm leaving high school, looking toward college or toward a job, or how am I going to establish a flow in career? I mean, what's the secret? So again, we have 3 generations asking the higher questions. And that's in part why consciousness feels like it's rising now. Because when you ask the higher questions, you get answers. We live in a spiritual world. We're on a spiritual journey. We're breaking out in new ways against living a materialistic life. And remember that these are not just my opinions. I'm not making any of this up. The Celestine Prophecy books are not James Redfield's prescription out of the blue for a happy life. What we know about spiritual reality doesn't just come from the religions. There's been a science of spirituality ongoing, a kind of under the radar, quasi-scientific in that it's about coming to consensus, talking about all the experiences available to humans, pondering it all, trying to look at it objectively outside of religion is a kind of science of spirituality, of what it feels like. So this, in my view, this is called the human potential movement. It began 100 years ago when Carl Jung broke from Sigmund Freud at a very materialistic idea of human psychology to incorporate our spiritual experience in this human potential movement. So Carl Jung started it all. He's the one who coined the word synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that give us help in life. And if synchronicity is real, then spiritual reality is real. If we get help out of the blue mysteriously for our missions, for our inspirations, for our survival, then there's help. And that means, regardless of the fact that we don't know how that help arrives, who's behind creation, the nature of this force we've always called God, those are still to ponder, and we can have our opinions about it. But at least we have a consensus building quasi-science that is ongoing. And again, what I'm talking about the spiritual life that can unfold and what unlocks it, that is all about finding the proof yourself. It's a consensus-based set of proofs. Is synchronicity real? Prove to yourself that it is. So this is the background for the Global Prayer Project. It's a background for where we are in the world, what time it is in the world. With all these questionings and this higher consciousness popping in as we realize we're being synchronistically given the answers, then consciousness and self-awareness go up. And that's a massive force. And again, the right relationship with the dark side, who thinks all this is crazy and who are so insecure and disconnected spiritually that they have to base their security on money and power over more and more people. There's a power to that. There's an ego power that builds. And that's the world that they want to be successful in. But again, we can't hate them. We can't even challenge them other than with demonstrations of spiritual reality that will win them over to the light side. And that means, and essentially holding the spiritual timeline, engaging in it, remembering where we are, because it's tough for any of us to break out of this materialistic delusion that life is just ordinary and there's nothing happening other than just at material levels of success. The only challenge to that is always what they feel from us. And that has to be a love-based centered demonstration that we're here to find our inspiration energy and to move forward toward our mission in life, making a difference in the world. And that's always moving people into greater and greater unity around spiritual consciousness and more clarity about what's going on. How do we do it? So it's, again, really a beautiful time in the world from that point of view. It's also the most challenged because we have to deal with controllers who want to suppress everything that we stand for from an independent spiritual point of view. So again, let's talk about the inspiration energy part of it, because if you're bummed out, inspiration is the exact opposite of that, right? If you feel closed down, maybe you've lost your business because something politicians have done, you have to move from that. You have to intend. And so, since I believe that in the spiritual quest, intention is the most important beginning, let's talk about that and how we can set an intention for inspirational energy. And that's what we're going to do when we get to the global prayer, because this meditation will actually activate this not just knowledge about the strength of intention, but your willingness to believe in it. So let's just talk about what's involved in intention, because we want to set an intention today in us and in the world that we can be guided toward our first awareness of inspiration energy, and then the building of more and more inspiration energy. So let's just discuss first the intention. What is an intention? It's a prayer intention. There's all kinds of debate about prayer, but it's really one of the most researched phenomena that we could find out there in the world. It is a power, okay, an influence that we can have on the world. And I think there are two activators in setting a strong prayer intention. One is to intend with all of ourselves, our heart, our minds, and that intention, and to set that intention as a positive affirmation. Bring me more inspiration energy. Open me to more inspiration energy. Have more inspiration energy come in dreams and daydreams until I can really begin to feel it, so I can recall it like a memory. But the intention always is most powerful in gratitude. So in other words, it sets the faith power in this intention, this prayer intention, by always really seeking to feel, conjure it up in your heart, a kind of gratitude that we intend to happen happens. We see it in advance. We assume that it's going to happen, so much so that we feel grateful for it. That's the faith power in intention. So I don't know about you, but I set intentions for everything, for safe drivers around me when I take a trip, for on-time airplanes, for getting 5 pages done towards something in a day, written, everything. This prayer agreement between all of us, the words that I'm saying, that they be the right, they resonate, everything, because that's how important it is. And once you start doing this very, very consistently, and many of you, I know a lot of you do set intentions, and I know you can profess that once you start this, your intentions get more and more powerful because you see that they pay off. If you intend to be guided, if you intend to be intuitively, if you intend to be safe in a sketchy situation, all that can be structured through intentions. One other thing about intention I think it's important is that it is the afterthought, after intention of saying, give me this or something better. Because you can be a little off on the synchronicities you wish for and want to create. So we have to be flexible as well. So go forward with a little flexibility. What we want to do, set the intention for today, though, is within ourselves first, and then to send out into the world is a kind of awareness first of our intention energy. Now, intention energy is something that's given to us. It's part of the heart opening. It's a feeling. It's a sensation. It's an experience of motivation. I've got to do this. I can do this. I remember when I was in the days before writing the Celestine prophecy. As I said, it all began with a kind of daydream that got bigger. And the daydream started to happen in real life. I knew that I was in that journey. I could do it. I could get it out there. Every person, I believe, has this this dream that can come first in little daydreams, something we want to create. And what hits us, the way you know that this is something to remember and to focus on, is that it just feels like motivation. I've got to do that. I'm destined to do that. I came here to do this. So that's what we're intending for. More of those feelings, and regardless of how hard it is to be, or a little bit harder, I should say at least, to be creative in the world right now, there will be an avenue. That needs to be part of the intention. There will be an avenue forward for this creation that I want to happen, that I want to initiate and to see fulfilled. So again, let's just make sure that we're holding that the kind of belief in the power of intention to bring us more, bring us and more people in the world a reconnection with our inspiration energy, that motivation to do something that can help this world. Let's just hold that as a opening. You know, it's a heart opening. It's part of spiritual consciousness that we can keep open. So set that intention, and that's what we'll do in the prayer meditation. We'll set the intention to do it. We'll do it, and then we will conclude by intending for it to be a set spiritual consciousness leveled in the world. That'll be easier for anyone to tune in to not just the power of intention, but an intention for this inspiration energy. That is our birthright, that has always happened in the world and can happen to us in multitudes out there. So much so that it sets a kind of timeline for this kind of freedom of expression and creativity, and also that it is in the service of opening up this expanding consciousness even more. So with that said, let's just sort of take a breath or two and to come together as a group. We can understand that some people will tag on to this prayer afterward, but it will be still there, still in the present. Anytime you send this out to some other person, they will be able to tap in to the same prayer and keep the prayer going. So with that, let's just take a few deep breaths. And let's just tune into our spiritual connection, beginning first with a kind of sense of openness in our solar plexus, our heart area. Let's just get in touch with agape love. Love that's most powerful, the most influential, the most grounding, centering emotion that we can have. It's our birthright to have this as our base emotion. All other habits, all other rationalizations, all other emotional states, lower emotional states, fall away when we come back to this opening of love. Let's just feel it. You have to go back to childhood, your first pet. Just remember some other time, loss of loved ones, brought forward the greater love for them. Whatever it takes you to feel love. But now make it not love with an object, love that has to be stimulated by something else, but a state of love. A state of love that is within us as our, again, most connected, most influential, most creative emotional state. Let's just feel that as a kind of emotion that sweeps through our body, relaxes every place of tenseness, allows us to forget, not have to focus on whatever we think our troubles are, whatever we dislike about ourselves from the past. Just know that this state is transformative. It is always available in its connection with the divine consciousness within us that we are already unified with. But it gets us back unified with this greater creative force we've always called God, the one God. And now let's feel it as one. All the people listening, feel the release of that. If any other emotions are popping up because of stresses you have in the world, just let it go. We're only going to be here a little while. Let it go. Let that emotional distress just fall away and be replaced by this love and consciousness of love. People all over the world who are tuning in with each other, one computer open, small groups all over the world, families. Let's just hold this state for us first. Now let's just see ourselves wherever we are in the world and united together with this love influence. Let's just envision that we move this love field out into the world around us, into our neighbors, our close neighbors first. What we're holding is a consciousness of inspiration energy, opening up with this heart opening, feeling, sensing that daydream. Some of you may be going into your daydream, where your inspiration is. What can you do? Let's just keep going. Now let's ease this all together wherever we are. Let's ease this field even further out, this uplifting field toward inspiration, this inspirational energy, heart opening to these experiences that are available to humanity. Let's just go into the next neighborhood and the next. Let's see this field expanding, uplifting people all the way into our state or providence, our local government. See it uplifting all the politicians into something beyond themselves, into a sense of their own inspiration energy. And then let's go all the way to our countries. See it expanding, whatever our country is. Again, the politicians being uplifted. Politicians not just reacting to power influences, but moving past that, even for a moment, to an inner motivation that explains why they are where they are. And this great inspiration can allow them to move into spiritual consciousness and do something that only they can do in the position that they're in. See them moving, all of them, into doing the correct thing, to moving out of the need for control, into the lifting of everyone into their most conscious, spiritually inspiration dream. Now let's just keep going over the oceans until we're joining everywhere together and wrapping around the planet. Let's just feel a reverberation of this inspiration energy happening everywhere. Consciousness, security, inner security doesn't come from power or anything else other than divine connection and the connection with our dream, our motivation, what we're really supposed to be doing with this life of ours. Let's just hold that field that uplifts all over the planet. Let's visualize people everywhere opening up to their connection, their dream. Not dependent on us, but joining us in droves. And let's just set the field with our intention, heart-opened intention, seeking this consciousness for everyone. Let's set consciousness planet wide to be grounded at this level of consciousness, open to their inspiration. It might be a daydream now, but it can get larger. It can get larger and larger in our envisioning until it starts to happen in the world. That's our birthright. That's why we're here. See people who are addicted to various sources of power over other people. See them feeling this too. Becoming aware of the redemptive nature of consciousness. Never too late to forgive yourself. To move into the heart-opened, love-connected, spiritual consciousness that is our birthright. And lastly, let's just hold this as a timeline. That everybody comes to this consciousness as our timeline. That the enlargement of consciousness on the planet lifts all ships, all boats. That people snap out of their delusion We're here, all of us, on a spiritual journey that can be miraculous. Solve our problems. Setting intentions, to waiting for our answers, to looking for synchronicities, to tuning into how we could give to others, no matter what condition our world is in. To break through this way. To remember always this connection can happen because it's at the heart of moving again into an openly creative world. Let's hold it for one more minute. See it everywhere. It's all around us. We can come back to it anytime we find that we've lost it or knocked out of it by something that happens in the world. Okay, so let's come back to ourselves. So, thank you very much for that. That was fun, right? I think that it's the nature of what's important at this moment in history. The freedom of this flow in life that we're describing has never been more attacked, but it's a insurmountable wave in the world that is not going to stop. It's just going to, in the end, move forward in the kind of timeline of everybody coming to this view of the world and see life as mysterious opportunities that can happen. So again, thank you so much for participating. This is always fun. Check CelestineVision.com if you want to know what we're doing. We believe that community, rebuilding community, is exactly what is needed. We build out and ready for anyone who senses that the Celestine Prophecy community is the place they should be. Again, CelestineVision.com is my site, and you can see that and other services that we provide. But the greatest service is what you've just done, because I think all together doing this is the greatest effort we can make toward moving human consciousness in the right direction. So again, thank you so much, and we will see you next time.